Hello bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with an exciting announcement. As you can see from the title of this video, I have decided to start a Patreon. I've always been really on the fence about doing a Patreon. I always felt like I never really had enough subscribers who would be interested in participating. And on top of that, I've never really wanted to, one, create more work for myself because booktube is a passion hobby for me and I do it when I feel like it. I don't like to pressure myself to make videos when I'm really not in the mood. Like, I don't ever want it to feel like a job. And on top of that, I've never been a fan of the idea of putting some of my videos that I normally make behind a paywall. I want anyone who wants to watch my videos to be able to access whatever videos I'm making. So I've always been really hesitant about making a Patreon, but lately I've been feeling like as my channel gets bigger, it's getting a little more difficult to have that personal interaction that I'm used to having in my comment section. Just as the community gets a little bit bigger, I'm losing some of that small community feel, which is great. I want more people to subscribe to my channel and be involved in the conversation, but I thought maybe having a Patreon could be a way to interact with some of my subscribers on a more personal level if that is something that they are interested in. So I've decided to frame my Patreon around a book club. So I want to be clear that nothing about the channel is really changing. I'm gonna make the same videos that I usually make. The only sort of extra videos that patrons might get would be more like live streams. I've been doing some live reading sprints with my friend Elle from Elliott Brooks, so I would be inviting my patrons to that, or every once in a while I might do just like a hangout with me sort of live stream, or maybe an extra Q&A or something like that. But none of my like sit down filmed videos or vlogs. I don't plan on making any extra content for patrons because, like I said, I don't really want to make more work for myself. But when it comes to a book club, I mean, I'm reading anyways, right? So I feel like that was an easier way for me to frame this Patreon. Please absolutely do not feel any pressure to join the book club or to throw any money my way. This is just for people who want to. Obviously, I appreciate everyone's support. Just watching and commenting, liking, sharing my videos is plenty. Nobody has to do anything more. The Patreon is just for people who want to do more or who want to participate in a book club with me. Any of the money that I'm making will, for the most part, be going right back into the channel. And not that this channel really takes me a lot of money to run. I've definitely already like invested some money into the channel, but that was because I wanted to. But any money that I do receive would probably go into like my book fund for the books that I'm already buying, as well as one thing that I have really wanted for a couple of years, basically ever since I bought this camera. There's a specific lens I've been wanting, but it was a couple $100, and when I bought this camera was like, I don't know, like $500, $600 or something. So I didn't feel like dropping extra money at that time because at that time it wasn't even monetized. But there is like a lens that I would like to buy. So little things like that, any money that I get from the Patreon and that I'm getting from AdSense, which is not a lot, really will mostly just be funneled back into my channel, but it's also just in general like supporting me in my everyday life. But I do honestly spend hours and hours and hours every week making these videos because I love to do it and I love reading and I love connecting with you guys. But that's why I want to do this Patreon, because it's another way for me to be able to connect with some of you guys on a more consistent personal level through the book club. So I'm going to go over the different tiers that I have set up. I will of course have the Patreon linked down below so you guys can go and look at it yourself if you want to. I tried to explain everything really well. Hopefully it's not too wordy or anything, but I just wanted to make sure that everything was explained well. I have 5 different tiers. The very bottom tier is a $1 tier and it's not for the book club. So basically, this is a tier for people who aren't really interested in participating in a book club with me, but want to go an extra step to support me in some other way, and they want to give me $1 a month. that would be greatly appreciated, but of course it's absolutely not necessary. It's just there for people who want to do that. Okay, and then my second tier is where the book club starts. So for $2 a month, you can join my book club called the Bedtime Bookworm Book Club. Very creative, I know. Let me tell you, I had such a hard time coming up with names for these tiers because I am not a creative person, but I am really happy with the names that I settled on. So the second tier is called the Bookworm Book Club tier. So for $2 a month, you can join the book club. You will have to download the app Discord either on your phone or a tablet or your computer. There's a desktop version as well, because most of the discussion will be happening over the Discord. So this Discord is exclusive for people who are at this tier at least and higher. So if you sign up for the bottom tier, the $1 a month tier, because it's not technically part of the book club, you won't have access to the Discord. That starts at this second tier. Before I move on to the next tiers, let me talk a little bit more about my plans for the book club. So it will be a monthly book club. We'll read a different book every month. We're going to be reading through the different genres that I enjoy most. And I came up with a little nifty schedule just of what genres we'll read each month. It took me a little while to figure this out because I wanted to kind of balance it between mood readings. So I put genres with specific months that I felt like that genre went with that month really well, but I also wanted to like space them out so there was never two genres in a row and things like that. So I actually put a lot of thought into the order of the genres, but this is what I came up with. In January, we're going to be reading a science fiction book. In February, we're going to read a historical fiction book. I just feel like February is a good month for historical fiction. In March, we'll read a thriller. And then in April, we'll read a fantasy, a high fantasy typically. I guess contemporary fantasy we find, just fantasy. In March, we read another sci-fi. In June, I want to read horror. I like to read a horror in like the summer and the fall. So in June, we'll read a horror. In July, we'll read another thriller because I also think that thrillers go really well with summer months for some reason. In August, we'll read a fantasy. In September, we'll read another sci-fi. And then in October, we'll read horror because it's October. In November, we go back to historical fiction. And then in December, it is fantasy. So that comes out to reading fantasy 3 months out of the year, sci-fi 3 months out of the year, and then historical fiction 2 months out of the year, and 2 thrillers a year, and 2 horrors a year. And I felt like that was a good spread of my favorite genres. Like my favorites are fantasy and sci-fi, so we're gonna read those both 3 times each. And then I also enjoy those other genres, so split them up evenly with 2 months each. And then the way that I have it set up, there's never 2 months in a row where we read the same genre, so I was really happy with how that spread came out. So that is the plan. Each month will be a different genre. And then at the end of the month or the beginning of the next month, we will have some sort of live discussion about the book. I haven't decided if I always want it to be a live stream. I'm happy to do a live stream, but I just feel like if there's like 2 or 3 people in the book club, and it doesn't really necessitate a whole live stream. So we might start out, depending on how many people are participating, by using the voice channel on the Discord and doing like a voice discussion and doing the book club that way. And then as the book club grows, maybe then we'll move to more of a video style. But in some form or fashion, we will have a live discussion of the book, but also we will be discussing the book as we go through the month as well. I'll have specific channels set up in the Discord to discuss the book as you're reading. I went ahead and already picked out the first 2 books of the year just because I do my TBRs seasonally, so I already did my winter TBR, and so I picked out the January and February book already. But then starting in March, people in my Patreon will have a say in what books we're reading, which I'll talk about in a minute because that has to do with the other tiers. But I just want to real quickly say what the January and February books are. So in January, it's science fiction. We're going to be reading a book that I just started yesterday, 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. And this is a YA science fiction book, and it's a alternate universe, multiverse type of science fiction book. It's one I've had on my TBR for a long time, and I'm really excited about finally reading it. So this is the book that the Bedtime Bookworm Book Club is going to be reading for January. And then February is a historical fiction month, so I picked out a book that has been on my TBR for a really long time and that I've been trying to get to and just never seem to, and that is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This is an adult historical fiction book, and it's about the last woman in Iceland to be executed. So it's based on a true story, but it's a fictionalized version of it. So that is the February book. Okay, moving on to the next tier. So the third tier of my Patreon is a $5 tier, and it's called the Bedtime Bookworm tier. And this is the tier that allows you to vote on the books that the book club is going to read. And I do actually want to get kind of like ahead of the month so that when I post my seasonal TBRs, I already know what books the book club is planning to read. So anyone who joins the Patreon in January and like the first half of February will be able to vote on the books that we read for March, April, and May. But basically, we're going to have a short list of books, and the people who are at the Bedtime Bookworm tier will get to vote on which ones that they want to read. And then my next tier is a $10 tier, and I named that the Past Bedtime Bookworm tier. And this is the tier for people who actually want to nominate the books that are going to be voted on. So like I said, we will be having specific genres for each month, but people in the Past Bedtime Bookworm tier can pick out books from that month's genre, ones that they want to read, and nominate them. And I also want to say that I will also be nominating books because it's my book club. So I'll get to nominate some books too, but I won't be voting. You guys can handle the voting, but I want to at least put in a couple that I'm interested in. But people in this tier will get to nominate a couple of books each month that they are interested in reading. So that's pretty much it for the book club. So the bottom tier is just people who don't want to participate in the book club but want to be part of the Patreon. Then you have the book club tier, and then you have the tier of people who get to vote on books for the book club, and then you have the tier for people who want to nominate the books that get voted on. Hopefully all of that makes sense. And then I do have one more tier. It is a $25 tier, and this is what I'm calling my buddy read tier. Well, I gave it a fun name. It is the Up All Night Bookworm tier. So like each tier goes up with like a more intense kind of bookworm as far as how late you stay up, I guess. Which I thought was a really cute way to name my tiers, because like I said, I'm not a creative naming person. Anyways, the Up All Night Bookworm tier, I am gonna limit this to only 5 people because this one's gonna be a little more like time intensive. But basically what this tier is a buddy reading tier. Every week I will update the people who are at this level with what I am currently reading and maybe like what I'm planning to pick up next. And if what I happen to already be reading sounds interesting to any of those people, they are welcome to buddy read it with me, and we will chat back and forth about that book as I read it. So it's not that I will necessarily like 100% be doing a buddy read with these people every month. It just depends on what they are interested in out of what I'm already reading. So I'm not gonna necessarily be going out of my way to find a book every month that both of us are interested in reading, but I will at least be every week updating them on my reading and what I think about my reading, and then if they want to buddy read something that I'm already reading, they're welcome to. And then of course we can always chat books, and I can try and give like book recommendations if they're looking for something specific based on things that I have read in the past. So that is the top tier, the $25 tier, and it is limited to 5 people. Honestly, I'm not sure if anybody will even be interested in that tier, but I love buddy reading, and I thought that maybe some people would be interested in it. And then obviously the way that Patreon works, when you sign up for a tier, you get all the perks of the previous tier. So if you sign up for the top tier, then you get all the book club stuff, including nominating and voting. If you do the nomination tier, you also get to vote, that sort of thing. Oh, and then I don't remember if I mentioned, but the bottom tier, the just giving support because you feel like it but you don't want to be in the book club tier, those people will still have access to any of the extra live streams that I do. Anybody who is any level of patron will have access to or be told about any of the live streams and Q&As and things that I do, which won't be on any sort of schedule. It's just as they happen. All right, guys, hopefully I said everything that I wanted to say and I didn't forget anything. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the Patreon down below. Again, please do not feel any sort of pressure to join. This is just for people who are interested in like an additional level of interaction with me, who are interested in doing a book club with me. I am really excited about this for the new year. I really like what I came up with. I feel like I came up with something that is really manageable and not too much extra work because, like I said, this is a hobby and I never want it to feel like work. So I'm really excited about this. I hope you guys are too. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about this stuff down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. That is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye.